My dear friends, life is a journey that begins with our parents taking care of us. Then we start taking care of our children. And eventually, if we are not careful, we spend our old age still worrying about the world. But let me tell you something very important today. Old age is not for carrying the burden of everyone's expectations. It is for carrying the light of your own happiness. Stop carrying the weight of others' opinions. This sounds simple when spoken, but in reality, it is one of the heaviest burdens we carry throughout our lives. From childhood, we are conditioned to think about what others will say. As children, we dress a certain way because our parents want society to see us as well-groomed. In school, we compete for ranks, not just for our own learning, but because our relatives, our neighbors, and our parents or friends are waiting to compare. In our careers, we push ourselves to buy bigger houses, fancier cars, and expensive clothes, not always because we need them, but because someone else has them and we fear being looked down upon. This invisible weight of log koya ke henge, what will people say, sits on our shoulders and bends us down more than the load of life itself. And when we finally reach old age, instead of letting go of this unnecessary weight, many still keep dragging it around. But let me ask you, how long will you carry this? At which stage of life will you finally say, now I am free? If old age is not the time to free yourself from people's opinions, then when is? You see, everyone has an opinion. Some will say you speak too much, others will say you are too quiet. Some will say you are too strict, others will say you are too soft. If you live by their judgment, you will constantly swing like a pendulum, never steady, never at peace. The truth is, people's opinions are like waves. They keep coming one after the other, and they never stop. You cannot stop the waves, but you can learn to stand firm on the shore without being drowned by them. Take a simple example. Imagine an elderly woman who loves wearing colorful clothes. All her life, she has worn dull ones because relatives said, "Why are you dressing like a young girl?" In her heart, she wanted to enjoy life's colors, but she sacrificed her joy for their opinion. Now in her 70s, should she still wear gray just to please others? No. Old age is the time to finally wear those colors with pride, to smile at life and say, I am not here to meet your expectations. I am here to meet my happiness. Another example. A man spends his life building wealth and status. Every step he took was measured by society's approval. He bought a bigger house, not because he wanted it, but because his brother had one. He sent his children abroad, not because they wanted it, but because people said it was prestigious. Now, in his old age, he looks around and finds himself lonely. His children live far away. His big house echoes with silence. Society that once clapped for him has moved on to the next successful person, and he realizes he spent his entire life running after opinions, and in the end, those opinions gave him nothing but emptiness. This is the reality. Society never stays. People's opinions are like passing clouds. They shift, they fade, they change. But the time you lose worrying about them never comes back. So why should an elderly person who has already given decades of service, love, and sacrifice to others still keep worrying about what others think? At this stage, it is not about reputation anymore. It is about relaxation. It is not about proving yourself anymore. It is about enjoying yourself. If you keep dragging this chain of opinions into old age, you are denying yourself the freedom you deserve the most. Think of life like a theater. When you are young, you perform for the audience, trying to get applause. When you are middle-aged, you still keep looking at the crowd, wondering who is watching, who is clapping, who is criticizing. But when the show is almost over, should you still be worried about the audience? Or should you look at yourself and say, did I enjoy my role? Did I live my character fully? That is the essence of old age. The opinions of the audience don't matter once the curtain is about to fall. What matters is how peacefully you can smile at the stage you stood on. And the beautiful part is, when you stop carrying the weight of opinions, you become lighter. Your mind feels free, your heart feels open, and your old age becomes a golden age. You laugh more easily, you forgive more quickly, you live more peacefully. People may still talk, but their voices no longer echo inside you. You learn to say, that's their thought, not my truth. You no longer live to satisfy others, you live to satisfy your own soul. So, my dear friends, stop carrying the weight of others' opinions, especially in old age. Put it down. It was never yours to carry in the first place. Live your last years with dignity, with freedom, with joy, because the evening of life is meant for lightness, not heaviness. It is meant for the music of your heart, not the noise of other people's judgments. Let others think what they want. Let society speak as it wishes. You have done enough. Now it's time to breathe, to smile, and to live only for yourself. Children are not possessions. They are not your property, not your personal project, not objects to be shaped exactly in your image. They are living, breathing individuals, born through you but not owned by you. Life chose you as the channel, the medium to bring them into this world, but their soul, their destiny, their choices belong to them. Yet so often, parents forget this truth. They spend their entire lives believing that because they gave birth, because they sacrificed, because they worked tirelessly, their children are theirs to control. But control is not the purpose of parenting. Guidance is, nurture is, love is. Control, however, suffocates. Think about it. A gardener plants seeds, waters them, protects them from weeds and pests. But the gardener does not control how tall the tree will grow or in which direction the branches will spread. The gardener cannot decide the exact shape of every leaf. The role of the gardener is to give the best soil, the best care, and then step back, allowing nature to do what it must. In the same way, parents are like gardeners. Children are like seeds with their own unique potential. You may wish for them to become roses, but perhaps they are destined to be lotuses. You may want them to grow tall like a mango tree, but perhaps their nature is to bloom short and wide like a bush of jasmine. If you force them to grow against their nature, you don't honor life, you only create frustration for them and for yourself. I once heard of a father who wanted his son to be a doctor. The boy, however, loved painting. He would spend hours lost in colors, creating beautiful pictures, but the father dismissed it, saying, "There is no future in art." He forced the boy into medical school. The boy studied, but he was miserable. Years later, he became a doctor, but without passion, his life felt empty. The father, too, was disappointed because the son lacked the joy and success that comes with true calling. In the end, both were unhappy. Why? because the father treated the child as a possession to be molded rather than a person to be guided toward his own path. And this is what happens so often. Parents live their unfulfilled dreams through their children. If they couldn't become engineers, they want their child to become one. If they missed out on social status, they want their child to bring it. If they couldn't shine in society, they expect their child to fulfill that ambition. But tell me, is that love or is that projection? True love says, I want to see you happy. Ego says, I want to see you achieve what I couldn't. When children are small, they depend on you. You decide what they eat, what they wear, where they go. But as they grow, they start forming their own identity. They begin to say no. They begin to make choices. They begin to see the world differently. That is not disrespect. That is growth. If you mistake their independence as rebellion, you will constantly clash with them. But if you respect it, if you realize this soul is on its own journey, then your old age will be peaceful, filled with love instead of constant conflict. Think of a kite. When a kite is flying, you hold the thread, you give it direction, you pull it when it's too far, you release it when it needs space. But if you hold the string too tight, the kite cannot fly. If you cut the string, the kite crashes. The art of parenting is knowing when to hold, when to release, and when to simply watch the kite dance in the sky. That balance is love without possession. And here is the truth. Children will not always do what you want. They may choose a career you don't agree with. They may marry someone from a different background. They may move to another country, far from you. If you treat them as possessions, every choice they make will feel like a betrayal. You will suffer, you will complain, you will cry, but if you treat them as individuals, you will bless them, support them, and find peace in their happiness, even if it looks different from what you imagined. Old age is the time to let go of this idea of ownership. Don't keep thinking, my son should call me every day, or my daughter should live near me. They may not fulfill all your expectations, but that does not mean they don't love you. It simply means their life is pulling them in different directions. When you accept this truth, your heart becomes lighter. You stop demanding, you start appreciating. A single phone call will feel like a blessing, not a disappointment. A single visit will feel like a gift, not a duty. So, remember, children are not possessions. They came through you, but not for you. They came through your body, but they belong to life. You gave them roots, now give them wings. You gave them values, now give them freedom. You gave them love, now give them space. That is the highest form of parenting and the greatest lesson of old age. To love without ownership, to guide without control, and to release without regret. Because at the end of the day, happiness is not in holding your children tightly. Happiness is in watching them fly and knowing in your heart, I did my part, and now they are free. Old age is the evening of life. Just like every day has its morning, afternoon, and night, life too has its phases. Childhood is the morning, fresh, bright, innocent, full of energy and discovery. Youth and middle age are the afternoon, busy, intense, filled with responsibilities, work, family, and ambition. But old age is the evening. And just like evenings, it can either be restless and dark, or it can be calm, golden, and beautiful. The choice lies in how we see it. Think about evenings. After a long day of work, when the sun sets, the world slows down, people return home. The sky is painted with colors that you don't see at any other time of the day. That gentle orange, the soothing pink, the calmness of twilight. Evening is not meant for rushing, it is meant for sitting with a cup of tea, reflecting, and enjoying the beauty of the day that has passed. The same applies to life. Old age is not for running after achievements, not for competing, not for worrying about what others think. It is for reflection, for gratitude, for peace, for enjoying the golden glow of a well-lived journey. But sadly, many people fail to recognize this. Instead of treating old age like a calm evening, they treat it like an unfinished afternoon. They keep running, worrying, complaining, and fighting as if the whole world still depends on them. They chase their children's choices, interfere in their grandchildren's lives, compare themselves with neighbors, and fill their hearts with regret. In doing so, they rob themselves of the peace that evening is meant to bring. Imagine sitting at the beach during sunset, but instead of enjoying the sky, you keep staring at your phone, scrolling through old messages. You miss the beauty in front of you. That is how many live their old age, so caught up in stress that they miss the sunset of life. Let me give you an example. There was a man who worked hard his entire life. He built wealth, raised children, and earned respect. But when he retired, instead of slowing down, he became restless. He kept worrying about whether his children were doing things the right way. He criticized his daughter-in-law, complained about society, and spent his evenings in arguments. His health declined, his relationships grew sore, and his evenings were filled with darkness. The sunset was there, but he was too busy fighting shadows to see its beauty. On the other hand, there was another woman. She too had worked hard her whole life, raising her family with dedication. When she reached old age, she chose peace. She would sit every evening on her balcony, watch the sunset, and thank God for another day. She laughed with her neighbors, told stories to her grandchildren, read books she had always wanted to read, and listened to music that lifted her spirit. Her body was old, yes, but her heart was light. Her evening was golden. When people visited her, they felt refreshed, because her presence was like the calmness of twilight, gentle, soothing, full of wisdom. This is the power of perspective. Old age can be bitter if you treat it as a punishment, but it can be sweet if you see it as a reward. After decades of responsibility, after years of sacrifice, now is the time to live for yourself. It is the time to stop chasing, stop competing, and simply sit with gratitude. The evening of life is not about how much more you can achieve. It is about how gracefully you can enjoy what you already have. Think of an artist painting a canvas. The last strokes of the brush are not rushed. They are gentle, careful, full of meaning. In the same way, old age is not about rushing. It is about giving final strokes to the masterpiece of your life, strokes of kindness, wisdom, and peace. And remember, these sunsets are not the end of beauty. After the sun sets, the stars come out. The evening has its own charm that the morning and afternoon never had. Similarly, old age has its own gifts: wisdom, freedom, time, and perspective. You don't need to wake up early for work. You don't need to prove yourself to the world. You don't need to run endlessly. You have the freedom to choose peace, to choose joy, to choose God. This is the evening of your life. Why waste it in noise when you can fill it with silence and serenity? Of course, evenings don't last forever. After the evening, night comes. In life, night is death. But if your evening was beautiful, your night will come peacefully. Just like a person who has enjoyed a long day goes to bed satisfied, a person who has lived their evening well leaves the world with contentment. The evening prepares you for the night. That is why it must be embraced, not feared. So, my dear friends, old age is the evening of life. Don't treat it like an unfinished afternoon. Don't waste it in regrets of yesterday or anxieties of tomorrow. Sit in the balcony of your heart, watch the sunset of your years, and smile. Drink your tea slowly, laugh with those around you, forgive those who hurt you, and thank life for everything. Because the evening may not be as energetic as the morning, but it is far more peaceful, far more colorful, and far more meaningful. And when you learn to embrace it, you will realize that the evening of life is not the beginning of the end. It is the beginning of peace. Shift from complaints to gratitude. This single shift in perspective has the power to transform the evening of life into a season of peace. Complaints and gratitude cannot live in the same heart at the same time. Where there is one, the other leaves. If you spend your days in old age counting what is missing, what went wrong, what people didn't do for you, you will live in bitterness. But if you choose to see what you still have, what went right, and what life did give you, your heart will soften, your mind will calm, and your old age will feel like a blessing instead of a burden. We all know someone who spends their days complaining. They complain about their children. They don't call me enough. They don't visit me enough. They complain about their health. Why am I so weak now? Why do I have so many problems? They complain about society. In our times, people were respectful. Now there is no culture, no manners. They complain about small things. The food isn't right. The weather is too hot. The neighbor is too loud. Such a person, even if surrounded by comfort, will feel miserable. Complaints are like termites. They eat away at happiness silently until nothing is left but emptiness. But gratitude works in the opposite way. Gratitude is like light entering a dark room. The moment you bring it in, the darkness disappears. The more you practice it, the more joy you discover in ordinary things. Gratitude does not mean you have everything. It means you notice and appreciate what you do have. And in old age, this shift is essential. Take the example of two old friends. Both are 70 years old. One spends every meeting complaining. He says, "My children don't respect me. My body hurts all the time. This world has become a terrible place. Nobody cares anymore." His words drain the energy of everyone around him. People avoid visiting him because after sitting with him, they feel heavy. His old age becomes lonely, not because people don't care, but because his complaints push them away. The other friend, also facing health issues, also with children who live far away, speaks differently. He says, "Yes, my legs pain, but at least I can still walk slowly and enjoy the fresh air." He says, "My children live abroad, but they are healthy, safe, and doing well. That is God's grace." He says, "The world is changing, but I get to watch my grandchildren grow up with so much opportunity. Even in challenges, He finds reasons to be grateful. And because of that, people love being around him. His laughter is infectious, his words uplifting, his presence healing. He too is in the evening of life, but his evening glows like a golden sunset. The difference is not in what they have. The difference is in how they see it. Complaints look at what is absent. Gratitude looks at what is present. Complaints make the heart restless. Gratitude makes it peaceful. Complaints say, I deserve more. Gratitude says, what I have is already enough. Think about it. If you wake up in the morning and the first thought is, oh no, my back hurts again, your whole day begins with complaint. But if you wake up and think, I am alive, I still have one more day to live, your day begins with gratitude. The pain may still be there, but the heart feels different. Gratitude doesn't erase problems, but it changes how you carry them. In old age, this becomes even more powerful. You may not have the same strength as before, but you have the wisdom of experience. You may not have all the people you once had, but you have memories to cherish. You may not have endless days ahead, but you have today, and today is a gift. Don't waste it in complaints. Let me tell you a simple story. There was once an old man who used to complain every day. One morning, he sat under a tree and saw a little bird hopping on one leg. The other leg was missing. The bird, instead of crying or complaining, was singing cheerfully. The man was shocked. He thought, if this tiny bird can sing with one leg, why do I complain with two? That day he decided to stop counting what he had lost and start counting what was still his. Slowly his life changed. His family noticed the difference. People began visiting him again, and his last years were filled with more joy than all his previous years. This is the secret. Gratitude is not about big things. It is about small, daily realizations. The taste of a simple meal, the smile of a grandchild, the beauty of the sunset, the comfort of your own bed, the fact that you can still breathe and experience life. All these are reasons to be grateful. When you focus on them, your heart softens, your words become kinder, and your presence becomes lighter. So, shift from complaints to gratitude. Don't say, my children don't call. Say, they are busy, but they are safe and healthy. Don't say, I am too weak. Say, at least I am alive to see another day. Don't say, times have changed. Say, I am lucky to have witnessed so many seasons of life. This one shift will transform your evening of life into a sunset worth watching. Because in the end, the choice is yours. You can sit in the evening of life counting shadows, or you can sit watching the colors of the sky. One is complaint, the other is gratitude. And the beauty of it is, you don't need anything external to choose gratitude. You just need to open your eyes, open your heart, and see the gifts that were always there. When you do, your old age will not feel like a burden to be endured. It will feel like a blessing to be celebrated. Invest in joy. Most people spend their whole lives investing in money, property, status, and recognition. They work day and night, sacrifice their health, their peace, and even their relationships, all in the name of building a secure future. But when old age arrives, they realize a bitter truth. Those investments cannot buy them joy. Money can buy medicine, but it cannot buy health. Status can bring respect, but it cannot guarantee love. Property can give shelter, but it cannot give peace of mind. In the evening of life, the greatest wealth you can carry is not in your bank balance, but in your heart. And that wealth comes only when you invest in joy. What does it mean to invest in joy? It means to deliberately choose activities, relationships, and habits that bring lightness, laughter, and peace into your life. Joy is not accidental. Joy is cultivated. Just like a farmer plants seeds and waters them daily, joy also has to be planted in small daily actions. And if you fail to cultivate it in your younger years, then in old age, your evenings feel empty. But it is never too late. Even in old age, you can decide, I will no longer invest only in worries. I will invest in joy. Think of a man who spends all his life working in an office. He never gives himself time to pursue hobbies, never laughs freely, never takes vacations, never sits with friends. His only focus is on earning. At 65, he retires with a fat pension, but when he looks around, he realizes he has no joy to fall back on. His children are busy, his colleagues have moved on, and his heart feels restless. He invested everything in security, but nothing in joy. His evenings feel like a bank account with plenty of numbers but no warmth. Now imagine another man who also worked hard, but he knew how to balance. He would go on morning walks, laugh with friends, listen to music, play with his children, read books, and spend time in prayer. He too earned money, but he also invested in joy. When he reached old age, even though his income stopped, his wealth of joy kept paying him interest every day. People loved being around him because he radiated happiness. His grandchildren enjoyed sitting with him, not because of his money, but because of his joyful stories and spirit. His evenings were filled with warmth because he had invested wisely, not just in banks, but in his heart. Joy does not always come from big things. It comes from the little choices we make. Sitting with a cup of tea and really tasting it instead of rushing. Laughing at a joke instead of brushing it aside. Calling an old friend just to hear their voice. Watching the rain without complaining about the mud. Singing even if your voice is not perfect. Dancing even if no one is watching. These are deposits in the bank of joy. And in old age, when life slows down, these deposits become your greatest wealth. Many elderly people make the mistake of depending on others for joy. They think, when my children visit, I will be happy. When someone praises me, I will smile. When society respects me, I will feel good. But this dependence leads to disappointment. Others cannot be your permanent source of joy. People will come and go. They will call or not call. They will visit or not visit. If your happiness is tied to their actions, you will always feel empty. But if your joy comes from within, through hobbies, faith, gratitude, and self-love, then you carry your happiness wherever you go. Take, for example, an elderly woman who loves gardening. Every morning, she waters her plants, speaks to them, and feels alive watching them bloom. Her children live far away, but she does not sit around complaining. Instead, she invests her time in joy, and the flowers return her love. Another man may find joy in painting, another in cooking, another in prayer, another in simply sitting quietly and watching the sunset. Joy is personal. What matters is not what others think is valuable, but what lights up your own heart. And here's the truth, joy is contagious. An old man who complains will drive people away, but an old man who laughs, who tells stories with a twinkle in his eyes, will attract people. Children will want to sit near him. Neighbors will drop by. Family will feel uplifted in his presence. People don't remember how much money you had. They remember how you made them feel. If you invested in joy, your presence will become a blessing to others. Even spiritually, investing in joy is important. God does not want you to spend your old age in bitterness. Life was not given to you just for work and worry. It was given so that you could experience the joy of creation, the joy of love, the joy of connection. Prayer is not just asking for things, it is also thanking and rejoicing. Meditation is not just silence, it is joy in being alive. When you nurture joy within, you become closer to the divine. So, my dear friends, remember this truth: money may run out, strength may fade, but joy can last until your very last breath if you invest in it daily. Don't postpone it. Don't wait for others to bring it. Don't think joy belongs only to the young. Even in old age, your heart is capable of laughing, your soul is capable of dancing, your spirit is capable of singing. Invest in joy. Because when the evening of life comes, it is not your possessions, not your titles, not your bank accounts that will comfort you. It is your ability to smile at a sunset, to laugh at a memory, to hold someone's hand and feel content. That is the true wealth of life. And if you have invested well, your old age will not feel like an ending. It will feel like the sweetest harvest.